My boyfriend broke up with me. Then I realized I was in love with his dad. Noah, I think we should break up. It was Leo, my boyfriend. What are you talking about? I quickly texted back. I can't do this anymore. I'm ending it, he replied. Ending it? Are you serious? I texted in shock. Yes, I am. We've kept up this act for too long. It's time to stop. Too long? We were just about to hit 1 month. How can you give up on our relationship so easily and over a text? It's better this way, less complicated, and don't be so dramatic, Noah. It's not like you loved me. Please don't do this, Leo. I hit send, but no reply came. Just like that, my boyfriend of 1 month had broken up with me over text. And even though I didn't love him, it still hurt like hell. I had started to believe we could be something more, but now it all felt meaningless. I couldn't let him end things like this without an explanation. I was going to confront him, and if he thought he could just walk away that easily, he was wrong. Next morning, I arrived at Leo's house early, knocking at the door. To my surprise, it was his father, Richard, who answered. Noah, what are you doing here? I came to see Leo. He's not home, Richard said warmly. Then, after a pause, added, Why don't you come in and wait? Hesitant but grateful, I followed him inside. So, how are you? He asked softly. You heard, I sighed. As fine as I can be. I'm sorry. I hope things work out, but even if they don't, I'm here for both of you. His unexpected kindness broke something in me, and before I knew it, tears welled up. Hey, it's okay, Richard said, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. I didn't mean to. Don't apologize. You don't have to act strong, not in front of me. His warmth made it easier to admit the truth. I just feel so lost. Leo never even told me why. Richard sighed. Do you want me to talk to him? No, I'll handle it. All right, have you eaten anything since last night? I shook my head, only now realizing my hunger. Then sit tight while I whip up something. He smiled. Soon the aroma of eggs and bacon filled the air. As I ate, I found myself relaxing, surprised by how much I enjoyed his presence. Cooking is one of my talents, Richard chuckled. It struck me then, there had never been moments like this with Leo. Our relationship had always been mostly physical, lacking the warmth and care I felt now, and suddenly I realized there was no point in holding on to something so empty. Hey, lost in thought? Richard's voice pulled me back. His warmth was infectious, and I couldn't help but smile back. I remembered the first time I met him, just as kind and welcoming as he was now. Even when Leo and I were just acquaintances at that time, he still treated me like family. Maybe, I smiled, you're always welcome here. Maybe next time you can impress me with your cooking skills. Maybe, I grinned. As I walked home, my heart felt lighter than it had before. Next evening. Somehow, I found myself standing in front of Leo's house again. I wasn't sure how or why. My feet had simply led me here. But now, as I stood at his doorstep, I wasn't even certain if I was there to win him back. Noah, you here again? Richard looked at me in surprise. Sorry, but Leo is still not here. It's all right. I just didn't want to be alone right now. Can I come inside? Of course. You can always come here, he replied warmly. So I am guessing you didn't have dinner, he said as we went inside. I shook my head in denial. He chuckled. I knew that. Well, then let me whip up something for us. How about we prepare dinner together? I asked hesitantly. Of course, that would be great, he smiled. Soon, I was prepping the meat while he sautéed the veggies, and we chatted casually. Hope work's going well, Richard asked. Yeah, as well as it can, I sighed. Honestly, I'm thinking of quitting. What? Why? He asked, concerned. I took it for the pay, but I have no interest in it. The office environment is toxic too, I admitted. Then leave, Richard said firmly. Your health matters more. I can help you find other jobs. You'd do that for me? I asked, surprised. Of course, Noah. Your family, no matter what. As he spoke, I thought about all our conversations. I always admired him, respected him, but maybe it was more than that. Thanks for being there, Richard. I care about you too, I admitted. He grinned. Lucky me. I thought no one cared for an old guy like me. What? You're not that old, I retorted. He chuckled. Thanks. Maybe I can still make people swoon. He winked. I didn't know about others, but he definitely made my heart race. 4 days later. I kept finding excuses to see Richard. A forgotten book, a new recipe to try, even the most trivial reasons felt justified, because every second I spent with him only confirmed what I already knew. I wanted him, maybe more than I should. When he opened the door, his brows lifted in surprise. Here again? Yeah, I said, holding up a package. "And I brought something for you." He took it hesitantly, unwrapping it with careful fingers. But instead of a smile, a frown formed between his brows. "What's wrong? Isn't that your favorite dessert?" I asked, suddenly unsure. "You didn't have to do this, Noah," he muttered. "It's already too much that you keep coming here." "So I'm not welcome anymore?" I tilted my head, watching him. "That's not what I meant. It's just that—" He stopped himself, his jaw tightening. "Just what, Richard?" I pressed, stepping closer. His body tensed. "You should stop this," he said, voice quieter now, like he wasn't sure if he was warning me or himself. "Stop what?" I asked, deliberately feigning innocence as I closed the distance, letting our bodies brush. Richard inhaled sharply, his hands clenching at his sides. I could feel his warmth, the way his muscles stiffened in restraint. His lips parted slightly, like he was about to say something, but he didn't move away fast enough this time. He was nervous. I could see it, and I liked it, because somehow, I already knew, he wanted me too. A few hours later. "Hey Noah, stop!" Richard yelled as I smeared flour across his face. "Why?" I smirked, dragging my finger along his cheek, slow and deliberate. "I think it suits you." His breath hitched, and for a moment I saw something flicker in his eyes, something unguarded, but then he coughed awkwardly, stepping back like he needed distance. Noah, we should get back to cooking." "But this is way more fun," I teased, closing the space between us again. Suddenly, my hand slipped and I tumbled forward, straight into Richard's chest. For a fleeting moment, our lips brushed, our breaths hitched, his heartbeat pounded against my palm, and I was sure he could hear mine racing just as wildly. Then, he gently pushed me back, his touch hesitant but firm. Turning away, he ran a hand through his hair, his entire body tense. "Richard?" I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. Was he finally ready to accept what we both felt? "Noah, please," he pleaded, still refusing to look at me. That hesitation, was it restraint? A warning? I studied him for a second longer before finally relenting. The last thing I wanted was to push too far, but as he turned away, dusting flour off his hands with forced composure, I knew one thing for sure. I was getting to him. A few days later. The kitchen was warm, and it was because of him, his presence, the weight of his gaze, the way he stood so close that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. I focused on chopping the vegetables, ignoring the way my fingers trembled slightly. I could feel his eyes on me, lingering, assessing. "You're getting better," he murmured, reaching past me to grab the salt. His arm brushed against mine, a fleeting touch, but it sent a jolt through me. I swallowed hard. "Maybe I just like impressing you." He stilled for just a second, his grip on the salt tightening before he placed it on the counter. "Is that so?" His voice was even, but there was something underneath, something restrained. I nodded, not trusting my voice. Silence stretched between us, thick and heavy. It felt like a tangible force pressing down on my chest, making the air feel too thick to breathe. Then, just when I thought he'd step back, he said in a voice barely above a whisper, "You shouldn't say things like that." My breath hitched. "Why not?" His jaw clenched, and for a moment I thought he wouldn't answer. Then he exhaled, turning his attention back to the stove. "Because you don't understand how dangerous it can be." There was an edge to it that made my stomach twist in a way I couldn't explain. He wasn't just talking about my words. He was talking about something bigger, something neither of us dared to name. I should have let it go, should have changed the subject, but I didn't. Instead, I watched him, the way his fingers flexed against the counter, the tension in his shoulders, the way he wouldn't meet my eyes. He was fighting something, and so was I. A week later. Richard and I had grown closer over the past few days. Though he tried to keep his distance, I always found excuses to be near him. I hadn't even realized before how much we had in common. We bonded over our love of cooking, gardening, and football. I crossed paths with Leo a few times, but he ignored me completely. At first, I wanted to confront him, but after seeing his reaction, I decided to let it go. Instead, I chose to focus on my present, on Richard. "I brought some expensive scotch," I called out, knowing full well Richard was in the kitchen, deliberately keeping his distance. "What? Why?" His voice carried a hint of surprise as he stepped into the living room, eyeing me curiously. I grinned, holding up the bottle. "I've got good news. I landed a new job. Actually, my dream job." Richard's expression shifted to one of genuine happiness. "Wow, that's amazing. That's definitely worth celebrating." "Exactly. So, let's drink to our heart's content tonight. He chuckled, grabbing 2 glasses and pouring the rich amber liquid. Raising his glass, he toasted, "Cheers to your new job." "Yes, cheers to me," I laughed, the warmth of the moment wrapping around us. 1 drink turned into 2, then 3. Soon, we were both tipsy, the usual guardedness between us softening. The air between us felt different tonight, charged, like a silent conversation neither of us wanted to speak aloud. "I should probably go," I muttered, but made no move to stand. Richard exhaled, his fingers tightening around his glass. "Yeah, probably." Neither of us moved. He was staring at a corner, but I could tell. He felt it too. The pull. "Richard," I said, barely above a whisper. He turned to me, and for the first time, he didn't mask his emotions. His eyes, deep and conflicted, searched mine. "Noah, we shouldn't." I swallowed, my throat dry. "Then tell me to leave." His fingers ghosted over my wrist, tentative but lingering. It would be so easy, so damn easy, to close the distance. But then, just as I thought he would, Richard pulled back. "You know I care about you, right?" I murmured, watching him closely. "Me too," he admitted, almost hesitant. "You're the best thing that's ever happened to me." I leaned in, just enough to make his breath hitch. "Then stop fighting it." His jaw clenched, the tension radiating from him like a storm about to break. "I can't." "Why not?" I challenged, my voice barely steady. "Because if I let myself have this, have you, I won't be able to stop, and I am afraid." He sighed. "Afraid of what?" I pressed, leaning in. "Our age difference, and my son." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Leo?" My stomach clenched. "But why?" "I don't want him to think badly of me. I've always been his role model. How would it look if I dated his ex?" I scoffed, frustration bubbling up. "And what about you? Doesn't your happiness matter too?" Richard exhaled, setting his glass down with a quiet clink. Number not more than Leo's. The finality in his tone should have shut me down, but instead it fueled something inside me, because now I knew. Richard felt the same way, and I wasn't about to let him walk away from this. 3 days later. I have been spending more time with Richard lately. Ever since his drunken confession, it felt like he was just as eager to be around me. And yet, he never brought it up. I wasn't even sure if he remembered what he had admitted that night, or if he was just pretending it never happened. But I was waiting for the moment he would stop running. "See, I got you something," I said, holding up a flowering plant. "I saw it on my way to work and thought it'd look perfect in your garden." Richard blinked, then gave me a small, soft smile, the kind that made my chest ache. "You really didn't have to." "I wanted to." He exhaled, looking away for a second. Then, "Help me plant it?" I nodded, and for a while, we worked side by side, the silence between us comfortable but thick with unspoken words. My hands brushed his once, twice. Each time, he flinched like I burned him, but he didn't move away. I couldn't take it anymore. "So," I started, forcing casualness into my voice. "Richard, do you want to talk about us?" His shoulders tensed. "Us? Are you really going to pretend you don't know what I'm talking about?" I frowned. "After your confession that night? That was just drunk me talking. It didn't mean anything," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. I scoffed. "You're a terrible liar." "Noah, please." He ran a hand through his hair, looking everywhere but at me. "Tell me the truth. You feel it too, don't you?" I pushed, stepping closer. He stiffened. "I should have never fallen for you, should I?" Richard's breath caught. "You love me?" I let out a sad chuckle. Wasn't it obvious? For a long moment, he was quiet. Then, barely above a whisper, he murmured, "I'm sorry." "Sorry for what?" "For this." His jaw tightened. "For the fact that this, whatever this is, can't happen." My stomach twisted. "Why?" "Because I'm older than you, because people will talk, because..." He hesitated. "Because of Leo." I inhaled sharply. "And what about what you want?" Richard closed his eyes, shaking his head. I stepped even closer, so close I could feel the heat radiating off him. "Forget about the world. Forget Leo. Just for a second. Forget everything." His eyes snapped to mine, wild and desperate. "Noah!" I didn't wait. I leaned in. For a second he didn't move, but then he did. He met me halfway, his breath hitching as our lips met. My heart pounded against my chest, and I pulled him closer, letting the world disappear before my eyes. What the hell are you doing? I spun around in horror to see Leo glaring at us. Leo, I can explain. Don't bother, he snapped. Now I get why you've been avoiding me. I wanted to remind him he was the one ignoring me, but I held back. Leo, I never meant to hurt you, Richard said softly. Oh please, Dad. You were kissing my ex. You have no right to say anything. That's not true, Richard defended. It was a mistake, I added quickly. Don't lie to me. I saw the way you looked at him. You were cheating on me with my own father, he spat, turning to Richard. I expected this from Noah, but you were my role model. With that, he stormed off. Leo, please, Richard called after him, but he didn't look back. Richard collapsed, shaken. This is my fault. No, Richard, neither of us did anything wrong, I said, squeezing his shoulder. But Leo, I'll talk to him. Just let him cool down first, I promised. I wasn't going to let Leo ruin this. I would fix this, no matter what. Next morning, I returned to Richard's house, ready to confront Leo, but he was gone. Only one place left to check. At his favorite coffee shop, memories of us resurfaced. I shoved them aside. I had someone else now, someone who truly mattered. Then I froze. Leo was there, kissing another man. I snapped back to reality and stepped inside. Thank God you're here, Zach. After seeing my dad kiss my ex, I feel lost. Leo, breaking up with Noah was the right choice, Zach assured him. I'm so glad I found you. What the hell is this, Leo? And who is he? I interrupted. Noah? What are you doing here? Leo asked, startled. I came to talk, but I didn't expect this. I gestured at Zach. Noah, Leo told me you cheated on him with his dad. You have no right to judge, Zach snapped. I never cheated. Richard comforted me after the breakup, and we kissed for the first time yesterday, I shot back. What? But I thought... Leo trailed off. It doesn't matter what you thought. Why did Zach say breaking up with me was the right choice? I pressed. Leo hesitated. I'm sorry, Noah. 2 weeks before I left, I met Zach at an office party. We fell in love. That's the real reason I broke up with you. You cheated on me? Then accused me of cheating? Unbelievable. I'm sorry, but even you knew our relationship was mostly physical. Zach is the one I've been looking for. That doesn't excuse your lies. You made Richard and me look bad and ignored me all this time, I said bitterly. I know, but seeing my dad with you wasn't easy, he muttered. Spare me your excuses. Stay out of my life, and Richard's. We're done. I turned and walked away, not looking back. A few hours later, I stood at Richard's door, torn between leaving and waiting for him to answer. After wandering aimlessly for hours, I realized he was the only person I could turn to. It felt strange to complain about his own son to him, but I had nowhere else to go. Noah, are you okay? Richard asked, seeing my disheveled appearance. Number not in any terms. Can I come inside? I replied in a tired voice. Of course, you don't even have to ask, he said, beckoning me inside. So, did you talk to Leo? He hesitated before asking. I sighed. Yes, I did. And what I found out made me like this. What happened? Richard asked worriedly. Leo was cheating on me. He loves someone else. That's why he broke up with me, I replied, breaking down. I am sorry, Noah, Richard replied and put his arms around me. I leaned against his chest, feeling both comforted and safe. It was like I had found my safe haven. A few days later, the road stretched endlessly ahead, bathed in the soft hues of twilight. The hum of the engine and the occasional whisper of the wind through the open window filled the silence between us. Richard had taken the wheel while I sat back, enjoying the ride. Then a familiar melody played through the speakers. Oh, I love this song, I blurted out, sitting up. Richard glanced at me, amused. Really? It's an old one. Thought you'd be more into rap or something modern. I shook my head. Nope. I guess you could say I have an old soul when it comes to music. A slow smile tugged at his lips. Good. Now I don't have to be embarrassed about playing my favorites around you. I turned to him, voice softer. You never have to be embarrassed around me, Richard. His grip on the steering wheel tightened for a second before he exhaled. You don't know how much that means to me. He hesitated, then said, I'm lucky to have you in my life. He reached for my hand, holding it for a second before moving his hand away. A warmth spread through my chest. Same here. I used to feel so alone before. But now, you have someone who understands you, Richard finished my sentence, his voice barely above a whisper. I blinked, heart skipping. Are you reading my mind now? I teased, punching his arm lightly. He chuckled, the deep sound sending shivers down my spine. I don't know about others, but I can definitely read yours. his gaze locked onto mine, lingering, intense. The car had come to a stop, but neither of us moved. The air between us thickened, charged with something unspoken. His fingers flexed on the steering wheel as if restraining himself, while my pulse thundered in my ears. I was falling for him, hard, and in that moment, I knew he felt it too. 4 days later. Richard and I had enjoyed our road trip to the fullest, but now we were back to our busy lives. Still, my evenings were spent at Richard's home. It felt like a second home to me now. "Hey, I was still watching that," Richard complained as I changed the channel from news to sports. "Come on, you've watched enough politics, and I know you love football too," I grinned, trying to hide the remote. "Give me that," Richard replied and tried to grab the remote, but instead fell on top of me. For a moment, we stared into each other's eyes, my heart pounding wildly. I was sure Richard's was too. Then, with both hesitation and certainty, I leaned in, and he met me halfway. This time the kiss was wild and raw, filled with longing, as if we had both been craving each other's touch. "I missed that," I gasped after our kiss. "Me too," Richard replied softly. "Then let's do it more often," I replied with a mischievous grin. "I want to too, Noah. In fact, I think I am Richard was about to say when the doorbell interrupted him. "I wasn't expecting any visitors. I wonder who it is." Richard frowned as he went to open the door. "Richard, dear, I missed you so much. I am so happy to see you after such a long time," a woman with red, fiery hair and green eyes said, and fell into Richard's arms. "Olivia, what are you doing here?" Richard stammered, shock evident on his face. Half an hour later. In the past 30 minutes, despite Olivia's hysterical tears and dramatic sobs, one thing became clear. She was Richard's wife, the woman who had vanished years ago. And now, she was here to take him back. "Olivia, what do you mean by fix our marriage?" Richard's voice was tight, controlled, yet laced with disbelief. "You left us without a word." "I know, baby." Olivia's voice trembled, but her eyes shone with determination. "I was wrong. Leaving you was the worst mistake of my life, but now I know. We belong together." Richard's jaw clenched. "It's been years, Olivia. I can't just take you back." She sniffled, stepping closer, her fingers brushing his arm. "Why not? We're both still single, Richard. We can start fresh like none of it ever happened. It's what's best for us." Richard glanced at me, his expression torn. Why wasn't he pushing her away? Suddenly, I felt like an intruder in a moment that didn't belong to me. I should go," I said, forcing a polite smile as I stood. "See you later, Richard." "And who are you, sweetie?" Olivia asked, her gaze snapping at me. I swallowed hard. I'm Leo's friend," I lied. Her lips curled into an almost smile, but her eyes stayed cold. "Oh, that makes sense. I'm sure you can see yourself out." She turned her back on me, dismissing me entirely, already focused on reclaiming Richard. I barely remembered leaving the house, but as I stepped into the cool night air, my stomach churned. Richard's wife was back, and he never told me about her. A sinking feeling gripped my chest. What did this mean for us? Was I about to lose Richard forever? A week later. Richard called me to his house today. After days of silence, I hesitated to come, but he had insisted, begged even. "Is your wife not here?" I asked, as I stood in his living room, arms crossed. "She went out for a while," Richard said, avoiding my gaze. I let out a sharp breath. "So that's why you called me here? So we could meet in secret?" "That's not it, Noah." His voice was strained. "I called you here because I need to talk about us." I scoffed. "Then tell me, Richard, what do you want? Do you want to let me go now that your wife is back, or were you planning to just hide me in the shadows?" "It's not like that," he said, running a hand through his hair. "Olivia left without a word when Leo was still in school. She was gone. I never expected her to come back. But now she's here, forcing me to fix our marriage, using every dirty trick she can." His voice was full of frustration. "I want to be with you, Noah. I do. But what, Richard?" My voice wavered. "You didn't contact me for days. You didn't even ask if I was okay. And now you're here saying you want me, but can't make a damn choice?" He sighed, shoulders slumping. "I'm sorry." I exhaled slowly. "It's fine," I murmured, reaching for his hand. I hated seeing him like this. "Just figure things out quickly, okay?" A small, grateful smile flickered across his lips, and he moved to pull me into a hug. But a sharp voice cut through the air. "Noah, what are you doing here?" I turned to see Olivia standing in the doorway, arms crossed. I immediately pulled my hand back from Richard's. I was just here to see Leo. She let out a laugh, tilting her head. Leo's not here. Oh, then I'll get going. I turned toward the door, eager to escape, but forced myself to add, I hope things are fine with you, Olivia. Not just fine, dear. Things are perfect. She threw a glance at Richard. Richard and I have been going on dates again. It's like falling in love all over. Slowly, I turned to Richard, searching his face for denial, for any sign that this was a lie, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. It sounds like you two are almost together now, I said, forcing a smile despite the tightness in my chest. Oh, not almost, darling, Olivia cooed, stepping closer to Richard, placing a hand on his arm possessively. Richard and I are together. I froze. Leo already knows, she continued, her voice honeyed yet sharp, and maybe we'll even get remarried. A fresh start for our family. Olivia, I think it's still too soon to talk about that, Richard said nervously. Oh, come on, dear. With the way things are going, it's bound to happen. I stared at them both in shock, my heart shattering into pieces as Richard remained silent. In that moment, I understood. Richard and I were over. He didn't need to say a word, and I wasn't going to stand in their way. No matter how much it broke me, I had to let him go. 2 weeks later. I spent the evening alone, as usual. After deciding to let go of Richard, I deleted his number, cutting all ties. He hadn't reached out, nor had I, but life without him felt empty, like something was missing. I was scrolling through my phone when the doorbell rang. Hesitant, I opened it, only to find Leo standing there. What are you doing here? I asked, stunned. I'm sorry, Noah, but this is important. Please, hear me out, Leo pleaded. I scoffed. Hear you out? You cheated on me, broke up over text, and then blamed me and Richard. Now you want forgiveness? I know I hurt you both, he admitted. I never meant to cheat, but after meeting Zach, one kiss led to another. I messed up, and blaming you and Dad was easier than facing my own guilt. But none of that excuses what I did. I'm really, really sorry. So you're here just to apologize? I asked coldly. I wish. But I'm here for Dad. Richard and I are done. He's happy with Olivia, and I won't interfere, I said firmly. That's where you're wrong. He's falling apart without you. I waited for him to go to you, but he didn't, so I had to come myself. I can't watch him like this. I frowned. Last time we talked, Olivia said they were happy. She lied. My mom has always been manipulative. She's only back for Dad's money, not him. I hesitated. Why should I believe you? I know I don't deserve your trust, but this time, I swear I'm telling the truth. Growing up, she used me to get money from Dad while she slept around with her boyfriend. She controlled us both until she suddenly vanished. I guess she ran away with her boyfriend or something. Now she's doing it again. Please, Noah, come back. For him. I exhaled sharply. I'm not sure, but I'll try. And if you're telling the truth, I'll do everything to save Richard. Thank you, Leo said, relief washing over his face. I know I was against you two before, but all I want now is for him to be happy. And he was, when he was with you. As Leo left, I stood there, heart pounding. If Richard was truly in trouble, I couldn't stay away. No matter what, I had to go back to him. 2 days later. So, what's the plan? I asked Leo over the phone. After knowing Richard was in trouble, I knew I couldn't stand by any longer. I hadn't fully forgiven Leo, but to take Olivia down, we had to work together. We need solid proof, not only that she's after his money, but she's blackmailing him, something that gets rid of her for good, Leo said firmly. I'm heading to Richard's now to find evidence. You do the same, I replied, before ending the call. I hesitated at Richard's door, but Leo had assured me Olivia wasn't home. This was my chance. Noah? What are you doing here? Richard asked, surprised. I came to see you. His expression darkened. After the way you left that day, I thought you'd never come back. I left because of Olivia. I didn't want to say anything in front of her, but why now? I thought you were done with me. I tried calling, but you blocked me, he said, voice heavy with hurt. Because Leo told me the truth, how heartbroken you were, but too afraid to chase after me. I exhaled. I'm here to save you, Richard. I expected him to deny needing saving, but instead, he pulled me into a tight hug. Thank you, Noah. Thank you for coming back, he whispered, voice trembling. I chuckled. Maybe it was just your good looks that brought me back. I don't care. I'm just glad you're here, he grinned. Looking at him, I realized how deeply I still loved him, and in that moment, I made a silent vow. I would never leave him again. About 2 weeks later. What the hell are you talking about? Olivia shouted, arms crossed defensively. I held up the evidence. This proves everything, not just that you're after Richard's money, but that you've been blackmailing him. And on top of that, you've been cheating on him behind his back. My voice was cold. We've already called our lawyer. Your games are over. She let out a mocking laugh. These papers and photos, please, I'll just say they're fake. And what can your lawyer even do to me? I'll just spin another sob story. A lot, I countered. There's more evidence, enough to hold up in court, and the cops are already on their way with a restraining order. You should be grateful we're not pressing charges for how you abused Richard and blackmailed him with your past. I placed a steady hand on Richard's shoulder. Olivia's smirk faltered, and she turned to Leo. Leo, I'm your mother. How can you do this to me? She reached for him desperately. Leo recoiled. You were never my mother. You treated us like puppets. The only family I have is him. Her face twisted in desperation as she turned to Richard. Richard, please. They're lying. You know me. Don't let them turn you against me. Before she could get closer, I stepped between them. Stay away from him, I warned. You've done enough damage. Fury flashed in her eyes. Ha! I should have known. You never loved me because you were gay. At first, I believed your lies. I thought you had changed, that you were a victim of your boyfriend's abuse who needed my help. But I see now, it was all manipulation. The moment I refused to marry you, you turned on me. You didn't love me. You just wanted control. You blackmailed me, threatened to steal everything I built, and tried to ruin my reputation with your lies. He exhaled, his gaze unwavering. I can never forgive you, but thanks to Leo and Noah, I'm finally free of you. He turned to me, his voice softening. And yes, it's true, I love Noah. The world seemed to freeze as he pulled me close, his words sinking in. Just then, the lawyer and cops arrived to take Olivia away, but I barely noticed. My heart pounded, overwhelmed by the words I had longed to hear. 2 days later. Everything was finally over. Olivia was gone for good, and after the court's warning and the hefty fine she had to pay, I doubted she would ever come back. Life had returned to normal, or at least a new version of it. I sat in Richard's home, the weight of the past few days slowly lifting from my shoulders. Beside me, Richard sat close, his presence warm and grounding, while Leo leaned back with a relieved sigh. I hope after everything, you can find it in your heart to forgive me, Leo suddenly spoke up. You don't even have to ask, I smiled. But you'll have to work hard to make up for your past mistakes. Don't worry, I already plan to, he said with a smile. Then, glancing between us, he added, by the way, I think I should give you and Dad some alone time. As he stood up to leave, he shot me a teasing look. And Noah, I wouldn't mind seeing your face around here more often. It took me a moment to grasp what he meant, but before I could respond, he had already left. He's not wrong, you know, Richard quipped. I would love to have you around more. Would you now? I grinned, teasing him. Yes, I mean it, Noah. You should move in here with us, he replied seriously. You know what this means, right? I asked hesitantly. Yes, I know. I'm sorry for my hesitation in the past, but now I'm certain. I'm deeply in love with you, Noah, and I want to be with you forever, he confessed. Forever is a long time, I teased. Are you sure you're ready to promise me that? I'm ready to promise that and more, he murmured before leaning in to kiss me for the first time. I love you too, Richard. I always have. And I can't wait to begin our forever together, I whispered before meeting his lips. It was a wild, emotional kiss, a culmination of all our lost time, a kiss that marked the end of our sorrows and the beginning of something new. Conclusion. I moved into Richard's house not long after, and our days were filled with nothing but love and happiness. With no more hesitation holding him back, Richard showered me with affection, unafraid to accept me publicly. He was everything I had been waiting for, and now I truly understood what Leo meant about finding true love. In the end, I managed to forgive Leo, and any lingering resentment between us faded away. He had found happiness with Zach, and I didn't want to move forward without resolving the past. True to his word, Leo made up for his mistakes every day, growing into a better person. Honestly, we had both changed, and I realized we were much better as friends than we ever were as a couple. I didn't know exactly what the future held for me and Richard, but for the first time, I wasn't afraid. With him by my side, I felt ready to face whatever life had in store for us. I knew we would marry someday, but I wasn't in a rush. Right now, I was content, living and loving each moment with him, one day at a time. The end. Do you think it's right to love someone significantly older than you? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become a part of our rainbow force and stay wholesome.